Encroachment and dumping of waste in the lake are a major cause for concern.
The livelihood of hundreds of fishermen in Damare, a village in Yola City, northeastern Nigeria, is under threat because of siltation. Over the years, silt has been building up in Lake Girio, affecting marine life.
We're
just managing now. We come to the river every day and fish. We sell the little fish we're able to catch and use the money to buy food for our families and buy soup for our children. It is also through this that we buy clothes for our family, mostly during Salah celebrations. Sometimes we make sure our families are satisfied, even if we don't buy anything for ourselves.
The siltation is caused by dumping
fish now like before. The little we have is costly and there are just a few customers. Before now, we used to sell our fish and go home before 6 p.m. But now we stay till around 9 p.m. because there is no money and customers are not patronizing us like they used to. We are just managing the business because we don't want to be idle, but we are suffering.
Farmers used to make about $500 every month. But now, none is able to make $220 a month.
We will keep doing our best, but if we get a better job, we will definitely change profession. The truth is, even if we don't change our business, our children will not join us in this business because they are in school.
According to local authorities, it is not just fishing that has been affected. Trade and transportation between cities around the lake have also been negatively impacted as the waters are no longer navigable.
So far, nothing has been done yet. But the major solution to that problem is dredging. I know dredging will require a lot of money to carry out. So we don't know, but there is a need for dredging in order to create more avenue for water, for the river to contain more water, so that we have more water for the irrigation activities that we carry out.
Fish vendors now source the bulk of their fish from neighboring Chad and Cameroon. Many of the residents now also combine fishing with farming maize and rice in the hope that a lasting solution will be found to sustain a return to fishing on a full-time basis. Beryl Oro, CGTN.
In Senegal, a new initiative that mirrors popular social media challenges is helping to attract young people to participating in improving environmental conditions. Here's more on that.
In the suburbs of Dakar, some young people from the district of Yambul have joined together to participate in the Trash Tag Challenge. The principle behind driving social media trends is being deployed in mobilizing people to protect the environment in Senegal. They usually meet in their former schools on most mornings.
We found this challenge on the net and we told ourselves, why not do the same thing in our neighborhood? Today, we came to clean the school that has educated us, and I think that cleanliness is a key element in the development of a country. If our country is clean, we live healthy. If it is not clean, we are facing diseases.
After 2 hours of work, the team has cleaned several dirty corners of the school. They are now ready to post their trash tag pictures on the net. However, it is not meant to be just a one-time show-off. The initiative is getting support from local authorities.
The City Hall has provided cleaning equipment like brushes and shovels to support them. It will continue. We are happy to see this as an association of young boys and girls. And we believe that in the context of climate change, this initiative contributes to the fight against environmental degradation.
The teams involved meet regularly to identify a new environmental protection challenge, hoping to make a positive change in the community. Dina Matengo, CGTN.
Meanwhile, in Tunisia, a local actress has opened a pet grooming salon. Inspired by a trip to Europe, she's now brought luxury pet pampering to her country's capital, Tunis. CGTN's Brian Toussaint has more.
There is a new luxury grooming service for pet lovers in Tunis.
The salon offers a range of services to improve the health and well-being of cats and dogs.
I came up with the idea on a trip abroad when I came across a corner that sold things for pets. I thought, why don't we do something like this in Tunis? I decided over a year ago to bring this idea to Tunis and establish the project. I opened the center 2 weeks ago, and it's been highly welcomed by those who love and care about their animals. From baths and nail trims to pet outfits and accessories.
Clients must book ahead because the grooming center can only take on 3 pets a day. It takes over 3 hours to groom one animal, and tools have to be sanitized after each use.
We book an appointment and then bring our dog here to the beauty center at the agreed upon time. The owner then presents you with a series of choices on what you want for your pet. The professionals give you advice about what might improve your pet's well-being.
Prices at Matusi's pet grooming business are lower than at the vets or similar services abroad. Treatments range from $8 to $25. With calls for reservations coming in daily, it seems that demand for pampered pooches may be on the rise. Brian Toussaint, CGTN.
You're watching breaking news on CGTN.
Welcome to the World Today on CGTN.
Recapping your top stories this hour, New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has wrapped up her visit to China after meeting with President Xi Jinping. President Xi says New Zealand is welcome to play an active role in the Belt and Road construction and is encouraging cooperation in international affairs. Prime Minister Ardern says her country pursues an independent foreign policy and firmly supports multilateralism. Mozambican and international health workers are racing to contain the outbreak of cholera in the city of Beira. The cases of the disease have now jumped to 1,000 and the first death has been recorded. The overall cyclone death toll in Mozambique has risen to 518, with a further 259 deaths in Zimbabwe and 56 in Malawi. The three-nation death toll is now over 800. And in the UK, lawmakers have failed once again to vote for any form of Brexit agreement. This may put the country on a collision course with Brussels as the clock ticks. MPs had 4 options which would keep the country in a close relationship with the EU after Brexit, and they rejected all of them. The options were alternatives to Prime Minister Theresa May's deal, a deal that itself has been rejected 3 times by Parliament already. And those are your top stories this hour. Coming up in your business news, up next. Uganda's central bank maintains interest rates at 10% to stimulate growth and manage inflation. The BRICS Bank sets aside $480 million for South Africa's ailing power utility, Eskom.
Africa is the nexus of enterprise, and global business will tell you why it matters.
From the mega investment projects to multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions.
Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that and you devote it to the energy sector, problem solved.
All this on Global Business, weekdays at this time on CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
In your business news, Uganda's Reserve Bank has maintained the country's key benchmark lending rate at 10%. The decision by the Monetary Policy Committee is meant to stimulate growth and keep inflation within targets. However, the Bank of Uganda warns that unresolved global trade tensions could pose a risk to the country's projected growth. CGTN's Michael Balege reports.
Uganda's economy is estimated to be growing at about 6 to 6.5%, and the central bank governor predicts that in the short to medium term, it will continue at this pace, supported by monetary policy, more government spending, and improved agricultural performance.
The Bank of Uganda judges that keeping the stance of monetary policy unchanged at this Monetary Policy Committee meeting would be consistent with sustained growth in the economy and achieving the inflation target over time.
Bank of Uganda says the low benchmark lending rate has improved the business community's access to affordable money, but the banking sector too has benefited.
One of the things that we've noted over the last almost 1.5 years is the recovery in credit. And recovery in credit which has been followed with a drop in non-performing loans.
However, the central bank reveals that a combination of lower global growth, weather-related constraints to farming, and a weak local currency could dampen economic growth in the longer term. 1 month down the road, Rwanda maintains a closed border to Uganda's goods. The central bank believes such unresolved regional and global trade tensions may further constrain progress. Bank of Uganda says while the Rwanda-Uganda border standoff is temporary, it will affect growth in the long run.
Our exports 12 months to February declined by around 0.3. And apart from some of the commodities like fish and flowers, some of other commodities are on the decline.
So while Uganda's growth is robust now, there are big challenges in the years ahead. Michael Baleke, CGTN, Kampala, Uganda.
In a move aimed at spurring growth and investment in Ethiopia, Unilever has unveiled a world-class oral care plant, a first of its kind in the country. The new factory is set to produce products for local use as well as export. From Addis Ababa, here's CGTN's Girum Chala.
According to local media reports, the new Unilever factory line will produce the well-known oral care soap brand Signal. Unilever, by the way, is not new to Ethiopia. It already has a soap and detergent manufacturing plants which were commissioned in 2016 and 2017. Bruno Whitvoet, Unilever's Africa president, said his company is committed to support Ethiopia's economy through continued and increased investments. Ethiopian industry authorities on their side appreciated Unilever's efforts and that the British-Dutch transnational consumer goods company is always welcome to invest more in Ethiopia, and for that the government will provide all the supports necessary to see them succeed. Here, Ethiopia is becoming a chosen destination for the light manufacturers since recent times. This is due to the country's robust industry development policy and the attractive incentives the government is providing for interested investors. Ethiopia currently has close to 10 fully operating specialized industrial parks located across the country. Textile and garment, pharmaceuticals and agro-processing companies use those parks to produce goods for the global market. Group Jara CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
And over to South Africa now. The new Development Bank has approved loans worth $790 million to fund 3 projects in the country. The loan granted is expected to finance the survival of state-owned power utility Eskom. Eskom has been battling soaring costs and stagnation of electricity sales. $480 million of that funding from the BRICS Bank will finance the Medupi power plant project. This will be one of the largest coal-fired power stations in the world when complete. And the rest of the money is to be split between the Lesotho Highlands water project and a renewable energy venture. President Cyril Ramaphosa has promised a $4.86 billion bailout for Eskom over the next 3 years. The government has started a process to split it into 3 separate entities to make it more efficient. Now, a group of international consumer goods companies have joined hands in combating plastic pollution in Africa. The Africa Plastics Recycling Alliance aims to keep the environment clean while creating millions of jobs on the continent. Hlonela Lupowana caught up with one of its members in Kigali. Let's take a look.
Plastic pollution is a universal problem. It's even harder to deal with in most developing African economies. The United Nations estimates that 1 million plastic drinking bottles are purchased every minute, while up to 5 trillion single-use plastic bags are used worldwide every year. Most of that litter ends up in either a landfill or polluting the natural environment.
Some African nations like Rwanda and Kenya have opted to ban the use of plastic bags to help ease plastic pollution. But what about other African nations who simply can't afford the alternative?
Well, that's where these
recycling plants across Africa, and also there's not a lot of collection schemes. Outside South Africa, you will hardly find a proper, efficient recycling model that is going on in any part of Africa. With that, what you find is that you find plastic waste in the gutters, polluting marine life.
The group is kickstarting its program in countries like Kenya, Ethiopia, Ghana, Nigeria, and South Africa. It's an opportunity to create millions of jobs across the continent.
Those countries have massive scale. It's easy to put up a recycling plant, which will probably cost you around $25 million in those countries. Whilst we look for solutions for smaller countries, because we've spoken to a lot of investors who want to invest in plastic manufacturing plants, and they tell us that for smaller countries, they cannot generate enough waste to feed these recycling plants.
Opoko Asare stresses the importance of working with government leaders and investment partners to tackle plastic pollution.
We want to bring together investors and also encourage recycling in countries. But what is critical is the government piece here, because you need government policy to enable the recycling models that we want to build to work. We've seen projects going on in Kenya, where it's employing over 2,000 people within 18 months. And we're doing a pilot project in one city in Ghana called Kumasi, where we are using plastics to mix with mortar to make concrete blocks for building. And the project, if adopted by government, could create around 5 million jobs in Ghana.
On its path to a cleaner environment, the Alliance hopes more African leaders as well as investors will use recycling as an economic tool for job creation. Hlonela Lupowana, CGTN, Kigali.
Let's go to the U.S. now. Skyrocketing rents in the city of San Francisco have not only put the financial squeeze on residents, but businesses too, including some that have been in the community for generations. CGTN's Mark New tells us more.
It's a uniquely Chinese-American treat valued for its good fortune.
We must always have old memories and young hopes.
That wisdom guides the Golden Gate Fortune Cookie Factory in San Francisco's Chinatown, the last place in the country to make these confections by hand. With the help of a customized waffle maker, a worker can make up to 400 cookies an hour.
When you open it up, you have to catch it in 4 seconds. See, 4 seconds, you gotta make them. Look at that one, it's more than 4 seconds. I try to make it, it doesn't work. No, you don't want to touch it. See, you can touch it. Used to it. See?
Even though the shop satisfies a seemingly endless stream of customers, it's not immune to economic misfortune. Chan says in recent years their rent has tripled, putting the factory in jeopardy until he managed to strike a last-minute deal.
How close did you come to closing?
It's close, yeah. But as I said, I don't want to disclose anymore because it should stop now. I still feel the pressure because of that, you know, and it's too much.
Take a walk on the streets of San Francisco's Chinatown, and it's easy to find signs of just how difficult it is to pay the rent these days. In fact, the property site Zumper just released its national rental report, which indicates San Francisco's is the highest in the country. A one-bedroom apartment goes for about $3,700 a month. Number 2 was New York, nearly $1,000 a month cheaper.
The Golden Gate fortune cookie factory has been in business for 57 years.
She's actually the one that's doing the batter. She's the one that knows the recipe for life.
Nancy is Kevin's mother. When asked if anything has changed about the way she's made cookies over the decades, the answer is simple.
No. No.
And when asked whether he should bring in automated machines or just rent a small space for deliveries only, Kevin's answer is also a simple no.
I wanted to come in and see how the cookie make personally and get a feel of it. Get to know the city. Get to know Chinatown. Get to spend some money in the community.
We have our Lonely Planet book and made our way here because this is such a big part of the history here.
You try the cookies?
It was really good. Yeah, it was so good.
With green tea and strawberry flavors, Golden Gate is a crowd pleaser, even offering customized fortunes.
Your show will inform billions of viewers around the world. That's a good one.
What's this?
You will win a Best Abs contest soon. I agree with that one.
Happiness is serving you has been their motto from day one. And with grandma, son, and granddaughter all working here together, that's the way they want to keep it for generations to come. Mark New, CGTN, San Francisco.
Well, time now for another short break. Here's what's coming up next. Still on the program, African designers showcase their talent at the Africa Fashion Week with an eye on global recognition.
The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Panata, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Fashion designers in Ghana are looking to take African style to the global stage using the annual Accra Fashion Week as their launching pad. After months of preparation, the country's top designers showcased their latest collections. CGTN's Nabil Ahmed Rafai reports from Accra.
Ghanaian fashion designer Echan Afre has been designing clothes for 15 years. Now she runs one of the country's leading bespoke brands, Afre Anko. She's showing off her latest designs at the Accra Fashion Week, where she hopes to make a splash with a wider audience.
I'm trying to come out with a design that will move Ghana, that will take Ghana high, and that will also draw people's attention to Ghana fashion designers and the Ghana fashion industry.
The theme for this year's Fashion Week is chilly rainy, and local designers here are hoping their looks will help influence style across the world, like Afre's use of African prints in her collection, which dazzled the crowd. African prints are gradually getting attention in the global fashion industry, so events like this allows fashion designers here in Ghana to boost their brand. International fashion designers were also on hand to showcase their latest collections. Organizers of the event say they are keen to project African fashion globally and provide a platform to help designers stay focused.
African fashion can easily have a stage on the global fashion stage. We're creative people, but sometimes we get so caught up in our creativity, we forget the intricate business details, mass production, marketing, branding, and we leave that segment out of our day-to-day fashion lives.
For Echa Afre, it's about more than just style. She believes more events like this can improve the Ghanaian fashion industry while contributing to the economy by creating jobs. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, CGTN, Accra, Ghana.
Meanwhile, here in Kenya, an unusual beauty pageant was recently held at the Kodiaga prison in the western part of the country. The event is aimed at empowering inmates. Let's take a look.
It's an unusual day for these inmates at Kodiaga prison in western Kenya. They're having rare taste of the outside world as they gear up for the Miss Kodiaga beauty pageant. In another room, contestants are getting ready for an attempt to win the beauty title behind bars.
This event mostly helps us in the rehabilitation and social integration processes and in making inmates know that they are valued, loved, and that they are normal like any other person despite the fact that they committed crime.
The reason as to why we've been doing this initiative or taking part in this initiative is to showcase to the world that inmates are just people who are undergoing rehabilitation just like any other person. So just to show them that inmates are people who can make mistakes, and everyone who makes mistakes deserves a second chance.
Like many other beauty pageants, contestants had to perform a talent on stage as part of the judging process. They gave their best, showing impressive levels of creativity and imagination. And finally, the moment they had all been waiting for.
I am so thankful that people are coming to make the inmates feel happy, because if it were not for them, we always have negative thoughts with depression, and sometimes we feel like committing suicide. Like me, I am serving a 15-year jail term, and sometimes I feel depressed and stressed. But when they come, we feel good.
The annual event is organized by youth volunteer groups, Crime Sipoa and Opuk Jakinda Foundation. It creates a platform for inmates to reflect about their potential and explore their talents. While the event seeks to crown the most beautiful, it's clear that beauty goes more than something that's just skin deep. Shomrono, CGTN.
Let's go to Portugal now, where just a 20-minute drive from downtown Lisbon lies one of the most impoverished and problematic neighborhoods. Police raids are common in Cova da Moura, but within the slum, a vibrant Cape Verdean community celebrates their home country off Africa's west coast with music, food and street art. This may one day change the area's no-go reputation among the residents of the Portuguese capital.
The unsightly brick and concrete dwellings of Cova da Moura, stretching across 16 hectares of hilly landscape on the outskirts of Lisbon, are often compared to Brazil's favela slums.
For me, growing here was like growing anywhere else, and being born here, the value I give to the neighborhood, it's different from other people that weren't born here. But at the same time, my view of Cova da Moura is the same as them. Love and mystique that we have for the neighborhood.
The neighborhood is home to around 6,000 people, with Cape Verdeans making up about 3/4 of the population. And as such, the rich culture from back home is evident, with many presenting it in food, stories and song.
Saturdays and Sundays, we have many people from outside the neighborhood and also from here. They come to eat, to dance, people enjoy it, and for me that is good because that's our culture.
However, the celebration of culture is shrouded by years of hard life.
I hope it can be different for me. that they can have a brighter future with more success and that they can study, at least get a university degree. Many who do not have the qualifications are like me. I don't want the next generation to go through what I did.
The municipality has Portugal's 5th highest crime rate, with nearly 7,000 crimes in 2017.
I think they see us with a preconceived idea. They have in them some kind of mental colonialism because the way they act here. It's not for sure the same as they act in Bairro Alto or any other place. Here it's for sure completely different. Here it's much more violent and aggressive.
Cabral, who has been in prison before and now organizes tours of Cova da Moura, says the tours help change visitors' perception of the slum. But he claims the neighborhood is suffering from discrimination.
The possibility for us to be integrated in the Portuguese community in its full sense is difficult because we are not allowed to get there. I think it's a bit hard because of that invincible wall, or maybe some preconception that still exists, or the discrimination that happens in education and employment, and that always ends up affecting these communities.
Although some migrants have moved from illegal sheds and basic infrastructure to 2- or 3-story houses with paved streets, poverty is still visible, with many forced to work at least 2 jobs to make ends meet. Beryl Oro, CGTN.
And coming up in your sports news, up next. South Africa head to Hong Kong with a new captain for the